Good evening, folks. If we could get the meeting going, appreciate it. This is the December 21st meeting of the Board of Selectmen. We're being broadcast from the Al Merrick Cultural Media Center at Market Street. And the meeting is being recorded and transmitted via cable television. So at the beginning of every meeting, we do the Pledge of Allegiance, so please rise. Here we go. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, did it go back? All right. Folks, the first thing tonight we're going to have is a PowerPoint demonstration from the engineers, people working on the recreational path project. And we have the recreational path committee and the engineers here from, what's it? World Tech Engineering. And gentlemen, if you want to take the podium up there, you can just explain what's going on. Janet, you want to start it up? Thank you, Janet. Appreciate it. Go ahead and tell us what we're going to be looking at tonight.
Thank you, Selectmen. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Janet Long from 14 Nottingham Road in Linfield, and I'm the chairman of the Recreational Path Committee for Linfield. Very proud chairman of it, and we have one of our members here who is Dick Simmons. The other members couldn't be here, Joe Markey, Mark McDonough, and Michael DeMore. That would help. And the goal of our committee is to keep residents informed of the progress of the rail trail pathway in town. And for tonight's meeting, we are giving a very brief preview to our selectmen about what we're going to be talking about in much more detail in January, on January 12th. So we invite people to come back. That's the opportunity where people have a chance to ask the questions that many of you have about the project. So tonight is our preview to you gentlemen, and we're looking forward to telling you more about what we've been doing so far. So the project, as you may know, is a two-town project in Linfield and Wakefield to utilize state and federal funds to convert a 4.4-mile unused rail corridor going through both towns, and it's currently owned by the MBTA, and we're going to convert it into a safe, linear path amenity where people can run, walk, bike, rejuvenate, explore, and enjoy nature. So what's happening elsewhere? We know that there are at least 70 trails already built in Massachusetts. And of course, all over the country, these are big deals and people love these amenities. But back to our committee, what we've been working on for the past year and a half is we've added members and welcome volunteers. We built a cool website that's www.linfieldrailtrail.org. And in there we have some terrific history, information, timeline of the project, and also we have a robust section devoted to answering questions that people have asked us. And we've been really loyal about that. When people ask us questions, we think they're great as well, or we anticipate those questions, we put them up on our site so everyone can see what we're doing. And on Facebook, we've made a lot of friends. In the Facebook world, 577 likes is quite a bit, and that's where we're at. And Wakefield has similarly popular Facebook site. We've participated in stories about the project. We've talked to a lot of people about it. We've been outside our town, inside our town, talked to people like leaders like yourself. We've brought people on the trail pathway to see what it looks like. So we're trying to help people sort of visualize that, and we're welcoming to take anyone out. As you know, I like to go out for a walk, so I will take anybody out for a walk to see what it could potentially look like. And what's exciting is as you remember, we're seeing paths that people are making already on the walkway. They've been using the rail already to get to school, to get to the library, to get to the homes. So it's already well used, and what we're trying to do is just sort of formalize that process with allowing people to walk on a better surface. We also spoke to realtors in town and had a very good response. Realtors really get this, so it's very exciting. We've sent 2 postcards to our abutters. We visited home of every abutter, and we were actually warmly received, and we had wonderful conversations, and we took notes, we listened, we incorporated those comments into our website with our frequently asked questions. So they supplied us with lots of interesting insights about what concerns they might have, and we've addressed those, I think, very nicely in our Q&A and researched a number of things as well. We've visited our other rail trails. We've been, in fact, volunteers at other rail trails. We've cleaned up our own rail corridor where some kids had some parties behind the high school. I would say Bud Light still rules. So we've picked up a number of bags of that, but we know that those are areas that are currently secluded and allow people to do those kinds of things. But when the rail trail is built, it'll be pretty inhospitable for kids, college or high school kids, to be hanging out right at the edge of the trail. We've also spoken with leaders in our community and other communities. We have some great videos and stories which we'll share at our January meeting. We're excited for you to see photos, videos, stories, and hear from people who have had wonderful luck with these trails and find them very safe and wonderful amenities. And if we missed you and you want to talk to us about the pathway or want to walk again or go again with us, please write to me at info@linfieldrailtrail.org. And again, we're looking forward to the January meeting because that's where we'll really get to tell you much more. And that will be at the middle school at January 12th at 7 to 9 p.m. So let me introduce our engineers for today. Rich, will you be speaking? Sure. Rich is our head engineer from World Tech, so I'll turn it over to you guys.
Thank you, Janet. Again, for the record, Rich Benevento from World Tech Engineering. Also with me tonight is Bill Mertz. Bill is Vice President at World Tech and is handling the day-to-day on the project. Bill's a professional engineer in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And next to Bill is Randy Collins, our partner on the project Beta Group. Randy is a registered landscape architect. And so we've been working very closely between the two firms. What I wanted to do tonight is just give you a little bit of a history of the project. Some you may know already, perhaps for the folks at home watching, just to give them a little bit of an update on the project as well, as to how this all came about and where we are. And as Janet mentioned, really the most important thing is our community meetings that we're going to be having in January, where we'll really be able to get into a lot of the details of the project, and be able to field questions and be able to talk a lot more about what's been going on over the last couple of years. Are we going to be able to get to that right at the beginning? Perfect. There we go. Not up there yet. Oh, there it is. There it is. All someone needs to do is just, Bill, you want to go up so you can tap the bar there? There we go. So again, just a little overview of the project. The trail is about 4.4 miles. It begins at the Galvin Middle School in Wakefield, and it proceeds northerly. It's a little over 1.8 miles in Wakefield, and about 2.5 miles in Linfield. The significant portion in Linfield certainly is 0.6 miles of the trail are actually located in the Reedy Meadow. A little bit challenging, but a tremendous resource. I don't know if anybody has walked it. We did have to clear the trail in order to do the geotechnical program. We had a drilling rig out there just to take borings and soil samples, so they had to clear it. And if you had an opportunity to walk out there, it is quite spectacular. We were out there on a nice day with the town administrator and Janet and a few others, and it was a beautiful sunny day, and it's just a tremendous resource to be able to actually get out there. The project is being 100% construction funded through the federal government and the state. It's an 80-20 split. Right now, the project is currently being estimated at $7.6 million, and that would be through Wakefield up through Linfield to the Peabody City line. This is a map that just, again, shows a little bit. I don't know if this will work on the screen or not. I guess it doesn't. No, I thought it did. No, okay. Anyway, the yellow portion is the portion that is in Wakefield. You can see where it starts down around Richardson Street and proceeds northerly, proceeds underneath Route 128, I-95, and then you can see that magenta line there is where it then shifts into Linfield, and that is the beginning of the project in Linfield, and also the project as it transcribes through the Reedy Meadow. And then it continues by the golf course and then eventually up to the Peabody City line. There is proposed access points at the middle school and at the high school. And we're going to talk about those in greater detail when we have our community meeting and talk about access points and things like that. So this all came about, I guess, in the early 2000s, where the trail committees were formulated in both communities. This one actually shows in 2004 where the Wakefield Trail Committee was formed. And then in 2006, the state allocated $30,000 to do a feasibility study that was performed by FST, Face Buffett and Thorndike, and they did a feasibility study as to the feasibility of actually doing this trail. In 2008, Senator Tassay, Rep. Clark, and Rep. Falzone included $500,000 in the transportation bond bill to fund the design of the project, and that is currently what is being used to fund the preliminary design of the project, that $500,000. So at this point, there's been no cost to either community. The preliminary design phase, which we're in right now, is actually being funded through the state. In 2010, the state released those funds for design so that we could start the project. It's been a little bit of a road getting to this point. 2010, the town received RFPs. They reviewed the RFPs. In 2012, Mass DOT informed the towns that the project was eligible for federal and state funding. And then in 2013, both towns entered into a design agreement with WorldTech. One point here is that Wakefield is the lead agency, but really it's a two-town design. Wakefield is actually the lead agency, however. And then in 2014, we started the design phase, and we are now moving to complete the preliminary design. However, before the preliminary design is done, we want to continue to have these community outreach meetings so that we can get input from both communities. And it's important to get that input so that we can tailor the project to the specific needs of the community. Randy's going to talk in a little bit about the components of the trail as a linear park, because that's really what this is. It's a great resource and a great amenity to the community, but it also needs to have those features that make it desirable as a park as well. So with this, I'm going to turn this over to Bill, and Bill's going to get into some of the details of where we are with the design, and then we'll have Randy talk a little bit about the landscape architecture component as well. Do you need that?
Good evening. Thanks, Rich. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the engineering work that's been done over the past year or so. And we'll go into, as Rich said, a lot more detail at our neighborhood meeting so you can kind of see some of the engineering details that we've been working out. But over the past year and a half or so, we've established the horizontal and vertical alignment of the trail, which, as you would expect, follows the rail bed alignment. We looked at grade street crossings, most of which are in Wakefield, doing safety improvements, traffic improvements at the roadway interface with the trail. Analysis of the Reedy Meadow crossing in Linfield, and we were looking at what we're calling a rail car alternative, which I'll explain briefly in a minute. We've also taken a look at environmental impacts. There are wetlands and resource areas on either side of the trail. Installing a trail on that rail bed, in some cases the side slopes impact those wetlands. So we've taken a look at how a rail trail such as this may negatively impact the wetlands, and we look to mitigate that and minimize that. Rich mentioned Randy's going to talk about assessment of landscape, trail, and screening alternatives. What are you going to see from the trail, from the neighborhood, from the local residents? And we've got several alternatives that we're going to go through in greater detail. We completed geotechnical investigations, and that was predominantly through the Reedy Meadow, where we're going to have the trail on some type of structure, really yet to be determined, to make sure that the ground can handle the loads that are going to be put on the trail. We completed a hydraulic analysis. Majority of the trail in the Reedy Meadow is in a floodplain and floodway, so we need to make sure that from a hydraulic perspective, we're not negatively impacting the floodway. So the rail car alternative, actually, Rich, one of the next slide, please. Next slide. The rail car alternative the thought here was to reuse flatbed rail cars as a structure along the rail bed. The idea was an environmentally conscious solution. It's reuse of existing materials. The structural support is there, being the rail itself. A couple of negative impacts associated with using this alternative. First and foremost is the raise in the flood surface level by 3 inches. That's the water level in the floodplain. And what happens is the chassis of the rail cars is occupying volume. When you occupy that volume, water needs to be displaced. And we have around 4,600 feet of crossing of the meadow where we would use these cars, which equates to approximately 70 cars. So using that many cars, the resultant would be a raise in the floodplain elevation through the floodway of 3 inches. So from a regulatory perspective, that being environmental regulators such as DEP, that's really a fatal flaw for this type of alternative. Another thing which was very difficult was the logistics of actually getting these cars. Procurement was difficult. And this project is going to go out for a public bid for a contractor to bid on, and we need 65 to 70 cars. These are only available really, you can't really go to a local store and pick up 70 flatbed rail cars. So it was an issue where we were talking to government agencies, rail agencies, and we just could not get 70. We were getting 1 and 2 at a time. So our problem was if we get to a contractor and he tells you need to buy 70, he goes to construction, tries to buy 70, I can only find 6. What can we do? So procurement of these things, these rail cars, was very, very difficult. The second part of difficulty is actually getting them to the location. The rails are not continuous all the way down from Canada or from wherever to get to Linfield, so they'd have to be transported on the local roadways, and it's a 70-foot long rail car. That's very difficult on some of these local side streets. Thirdly is cost. They're approximately $15,000 per car, which equates to roughly $1 million. And then on top of that is $1.50 per mile to actually get them to the location in Linfield where we need them. So not only from a regulatory environmental standpoint, but from a cost perspective, it just was not as viable as we had once hoped originally. So what's the alternative? The alternative is a elevated boardwalk structure, which are quite common. Basically a timber structure, but we probably use composite decking. And it's a well-used practice throughout for crossing wetland resource areas. The same engineering studies that we've done for the hydraulics and for the geotechnical would be used in support of developing this alternative. And the cost from recent trails that have been built is approximately $125 per linear foot, which equates to roughly $700,000 versus the over $1 million which we'd be facing if we were looking at the rail car alternative. We're going to be moving into preliminary design. The current contract was for evaluating the rail car alternative. Now we're changing gears a little bit, and we're going to have to look for additional funding to go forward with the boardwalk alternative. No, one backwards. Yep. So I'm going to introduce Randy Collins. Randy's going to talk a little bit about some of the graphics you're going to see at the upcoming neighborhood meetings, as well as some landscape amenities.
So one of the components of the project is the landscape component, and that is looking at the park from the park-like feature that it could be. And there's a lot of things that we're going to be going into that. So screening is certainly one of them. Trailheads where parking lots are along the trail. The introduction of the trail down at the Galvin Middle School and what that could look like are all design features that we're going to be dealing with as far as developing preliminary ideas, and really will be the focus of some of the neighborhood meetings. A lot of folks have expressed, on a lot of projects that I've worked in the past, concerns with having a trail facility, and one of the things that we want to make sure is that we hear people's concerns and address those concerns with the use of screening. But that's just one factor. I mentioned the trailheads. The crossing at the streets is certainly going to be a factor. The drawing that you see in the lower left-hand corner is an example of what it could look like when it crosses the street. And what we could do is not just planting-wise what it looks like, but the materials that are selected. So that island that's in the middle, what that could look like, what kind of materials would be selected for the use of giving it definition as you're coming to an intersection from both a beautification standpoint, but also from the standpoint of being able to announce that you've come to a roadway crossing and you want to get the biker, the pedestrian's attention. Looking at the screening, Bill had mentioned that there's a number of different options for screening. Properties in some cases are above the rail, sometimes they're lower than the rail. That guides our selection of materials that we would use for screening. But the one of the major focuses of the upcoming meetings is to really discuss with residents what kind of screening they would like to see. And we're willing to do that on a property by property basis so that we can really be able to respond to any concerns that people might have as it relates to screening or fencing along the rail corridor. Other components that will go into it is, again, a linear park, so benching and seating, planters, those are certainly going to be elements of it. But I wanted to also mention that if you've walked along the trail through the Reedy Meadow and you've come out to the island in the center, that, as Rich was alluding to, is a fantastic opportunity to create and expand a park-like feature in that area. So,
I'm going to back up to that.
Sure.
Folks can see what the talk there is right there.
So you can see the photograph in the bottom right. You see the line that's sort of diagonally going across the photograph. And about to the middle left side of that, there's that brown spot. That's the island in the middle of the trail. So if you can envision, that line would be that open boardwalk. Along the length of it, we'd find opportunities to have overlooks so people could pull out and get out of the traffic, if you will, of the trail. But then when you get out to the island, what could that become? And so we really are interested in hearing what people have to say, what kind of ideas they have. We certainly have our own ideas as well. But this is meant to be an inclusive process where we're trying to involve as many of the interested folks in the community to help guide the design. So that's sort of an overview of the kinds of things that we're going to be looking at when it comes time to get into the community meetings. We're going to be bringing a bunch of graphics of a couple of different or many different types of screening approaches so that we can get people's reactions to them.
Thanks, Randy. So I just no, we do. I just want to give folks a little bit of sense on where we are and the timeline as far as schedule. As Janet mentioned, we have our neighborhood meetings coming up in a couple weeks. And one night in Wakefield, one night in Linfield, consecutive nights. Our 25% design submission, that will be to Mass DOT sometime in the summer. So we purposely had these neighborhood meetings in January that'll give us time to hear from you folks, hear from the residents, help maybe inform the design. There are certain design criteria that we need to adhere to, being a Mass DOT project, but this gives us time to get your thoughts and really incorporate some of those thoughts into our design. The design submittal will go to DOT in the summer. Mass DOT will typically take hopefully just a month or so, but sometimes more to review that design submittal. Once they're happy with the design from a technical standpoint, they'll allow us to go to a design public hearing, which is another formal public hearing where you can voice your opinions. Hopefully by that point, we've addressed a lot of your concerns, and that meeting is and can go as smooth as possible. And from that point, it's really a linear submittal process going through DOT. They have an established process where we have milestones at 75%, 100%, and then final design. So right now, as Rich had mentioned at the beginning, right now we're contracted through preliminary design. Once we get design approval at 25%, we move forward with that selected alternative.
So there are a little bit of housekeeping items between the two towns. We talked about this in Wakefield, and I'm sure the administrator here has been in contact also with the administrator in Wakefield. Some of those things, intermunicipal agreement between both towns still has to be hashed out. The MBTA lease agreement, a lot of communities have done these. Most recently, Danvers and Dedham is working on theirs, and the Bruce Freeman Trail and Carlisle, Acton, and Concord. So it's a pretty common thing right now where the municipality will enter into a 99-year lease agreement. There's also certain regulatory agencies that are going to be very much involved with this project. We already got a license agreement to actually do the preliminary work that we did in the Reedy Meadow and along the tracks in order for us to go out and do the geotechnical studies and do the topographic survey and prepare the base plans and that sort of thing. But there'll be a long process with this. DEP, National Heritage, Army Corps, et cetera. There's many agencies. And then just because this project is being done concurrently with Mass DOT, there's a huge process with Mass DOT as well. The submissions that Bill's talking about, when we make those submissions, it doesn't go to just one person and they're looking at it. It goes to several different departments at Mass DOT. It goes to right-of-way. It goes to construction, it goes to environmental, it goes to traffic, it goes to all a myriad of different departments at Mass DOT in Boston. And at the same time, it goes through all of those same departments at the district office in Arlington. So there's a lot of people looking at these projects. They are becoming more and more popular. They're becoming more widely accepted, not with Mass DOT, but DOTs across the country. It's part of the Complete Streets initiative and Healthy Transportation initiative that you are hearing a lot about now. So we can have folks using all modes of transportation. So it's and because of that, there's specific federal funding that is being identified for projects like this. There's just the general funding for highway improvements, but there's also a program called Congestion Mitigation and Air Quality, CMAQ. They call it CMAQ. A lot of CMAQ funding now is being dedicated towards bike trails and multi-use trails. So that's the good news. So in any case, we are. That's sort of a broad brush of what's been going on. We'll take some questions certainly, and then when the time comes, we will be providing more information at the community meetings. So we'll take some questions if you have them.
Rich, thank you. Gentlemen, thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it. You know, as you know, there's many concerns about rail trails, and of course we had the same concerns here in Linfield. Many of the residents that are here have concerns. I'd say most of them probably abutters of the rail trail or have friends or relatives that are abutters of the rail trail, which they have main concerns with. And that's I'm sure is common throughout each town that you present to. One of the concerns I have that I'd like to ask as a safety concern, I see you're crossing over Summer Street. And Summer Street's a very busy road, and there's obviously a large safety concern right in that spot on a busy street crossing, whether it be kids jogging, biking, young kids, families, whatever. What is the safety mechanism that you use to protect a crossing like that?
So as part of a project like this, actually any project with Mass DOT, we're required to do a functional design report, which is essentially a traffic and safety study. So we look at the main line itself, and generally those for highway reconstruction projects, but these projects also require that. So each and every crossing has to be looked at from that perspective, a safety perspective. Sight distance, vehicular traffic. We've done traffic counts along all of these major streets. There's actually one that I would think somewhat trumps Summer Street, and that's Water Street in Wakefield, Route 129. So where the trail crosses there, that's already a signalized intersection. So we have to come up with individual design elements for each and every one of these crossings. And as I said, the folks at Mass DOT will be particularly interested in how we're addressing things as you're asking. You know, things like safety. How do we get pedestrians safely across the street? How do we provide trailheads, as Randy's talking about, so that when folks are on the trail, they know they're coming to a busy street. And so it's not only for the people, for the vehicular traffic that's on the street, but also for the users of the trail. We need to advise them in advance that you're approaching Summer Street, you need to be slowing down, or you can't just dart through on your bike, or if you're walking, just walk across the street. Depending upon the volume of traffic, there's advanced signage on the vehicular part of the street, and things like that. So there's a number of things that we have to do from a safety perspective to ensure that both the motorists on the roadway are not having conflict with the folks that are using the trail. So that's really important.
Well, if you go down Lowell Street into Peabody, you see the mechanism they use there on the Peabody Trail.
Right.
Would that be a common crossing mechanism that you would use on a main street like Summer?
Absolutely. Yeah. So and there's things like bollards and things like that are at the trailhead itself. But there's a number of items, and quite frankly, there are certain standards, federal standards and state standards, as to how you address these elements. And some of them, there may be a variety of them, or some that you can choose from, and sometimes those things can be, both of these work, but which ones does the town like? Mm-hmm. So it gives some flexibility for the town to be able to make some decisions as well.
Can you go, because you look at just the Linfield Library, and we certainly have a challenge with the amount of people visiting that library who park at Town Hall, and it's not that much foot traffic. but it's certainly a challenge, and that's one of the big discussions we're having right now with the possibility of a new library is the danger of crossing that intersection, which is just several hundred, if 100 feet.
I could
further
recommend a
down.
great traffic engineering firm if you have
But what
any
is, I mean,
problems.
what, I mean, talk to me about exactly what is it in Peabody? You're talking about that mechanism. What is it? What is it like? What it would do for just automobile traffic in that area? Certainly with the traffic we have going towards the center. So what's the mechanism like that you're talking with the Phil as just does it? Is in Peabody?
Maybe explain
What's-
to them how
what's
that
the
mechanism
mechanism
works
work?
over in Peabody. Explain to them.
Oh, well, I mean, you're talking about the trailheads and how they're crossing and the flashing, rapid flashing beacons and things of that nature at the crossings. Any one of those elements can be used, but certainly we need to look at exactly what the frequency is, what the pedestrian traffic is, what we're anticipating for pedestrian use, what the ADT, what the traffic is on the roadway, and then determine what is the best treatment for that crossing. So there are some streets in Wakefield that are just local streets where the trail is going to cross local streets. Obviously, we're going to treat those a lot differently than we're going to treat Summer Street or we're going to treat Water Street. But we're in the process of evaluating that right now. So I can't tell you exactly what we're going to do there, but it has to be made safe. No question. Bill, I don't know if you want to, if you have anything to offer to that as well, but.
Okay.
Now, who has the right of way if you're coming through that trail? The automobile, I mean, certainly there's some heavy traffic right there, and I know in a natural the pedestrians have the right of way. That's a lot of traffic they're going to have flowing through that area.
Well, I mean, again, if you get to a city street and someone's on the corner and they're going to cross the street, who has the right of way? In the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, oftentimes you'll see stop for pedestrian and crosswalk state law. Actually, that's not the state law. It's yield to pedestrians and crosswalks. So, there's common sense involved too. If someone's coming across the trail on
Common sense isn't common.
right, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And we always say you can have the
Yeah.
best engineering in the world, but you can't design for someone who's just going to disregard common
Yeah.
sense and safety. So obviously the vehicular traffic on the street has to yield to pedestrians or cyclists crossing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that folks can just dot right out. And there's hopefully mechanisms, or not hopefully, but there'll be mechanisms in place like rapid flashing beacons or signage or street markings and things like that that will let people know that there's something going on here.
Okay.
I got a question maybe Randy can address. The change over from a railroad flatbed car system across Reedy Meadow to a built walkway, boardwalk, that you similar to what you had there, maybe in a composite. How much of a challenge has that created with actually building across the Reedy Meadow, which is one of the few most protected areas in the country? What are there, 10 of those in the whole country or something along that line? And how much of a challenge has that created now to bring equipment in there and try to build on top of that Reedy Meadow area?
Well, it will certainly be a challenge, but one of the things that it has going to its advantage is you've already got a corridor that's there now. And so it would be anticipated that the construction would take place strictly within that corridor. And what I mean by that is they may start at one end or they may start out in the island and work in either direction, but they'll work within that corridor and then build if it's a raised walkway, they build it as they go. So they'd have a system of pilings that they might drive. So they might be an auger pile that would be drilled down into the rail bed, and then that would have a support structure. Then you'd come in and put the wood on top of that, the wood framing, and then you put the decking on top and the railing. So it all can be done within a small footprint. It certainly would be, from the contractor's standpoint, a sequencing concern to be able to do it efficiently. But it certainly can be done, and I have a hunch that as we go through the permitting end of the project, that will be a question that the regulators will be asking as well.
Well, that was the challenges I was actually referring to, not so much the actual construction.
Oh, well, that will be a
But
challenge.
the conservation part of it, where you're now digging into the ground instead of putting something on top of what's already there. You're going to be disturbing a highly regulated, highly protected conservation area. I'm concerned about the permitting and the approval process of getting to that point.
So the answer is relatively the same. If you look at it from the standpoint of you have a corridor that's there now. So the floodplain impacts are certainly going to be something that we have to carefully evaluate, and that will determine the height of the decking surface above the flood zone area. But one of the things that we'll be having to look at carefully is environmentally, what kinds of things could this be introducing that could be detrimental to the healthy environment characteristics. So whether it's a shading characteristic or not, any filling that would be done in addition would be something that we'd have to look at carefully. And in some of the other ones that I've worked on, they've been tricky from a permitting standpoint, but eventually we were able to get the permits. This one is somewhat unique in its size and the nature of the habitat that we're going through. So I would anticipate that it would be relatively tricky, but I think that much like the meetings with the residents ahead of finalizing the design, we'll be doing the similar approach with the regulatory agencies to be able to get them involved in commenting on some of our approaches before we actually submit for permits. But it would be within the corridor footprint, so I'm sure they're going to want us to minimize the impacts outside the corridor that already exists there today.
Bill, why don't you talk a little bit about the piling system too, because it's not really that invasive.
Yeah, one other thing too is I mentioned, I talked about the horizontal and vertical alignment through the rail corridor. And what we've done, we've gone through several iterations where we've talked about the width of the path, where we come on wetland resource areas, we've narrowed the path, we've changed the elevation vertically as well as laterally to minimize any impacts to the wetlands. So that type of alternatives analysis is something that's going to come up through the environmental review process as well as from the Conservation Commission. What alternatives have you done to minimize those impacts? So we've gone through, we can show some of the steps we've taken to reduce those impacts. And as Richard mentioned, the auger piling system, it's what's known as a micropile. It's very limited ground disturbance. It's not digging a big hole and sinking a foundation. It's very similar to like an auger for a fence post, but as that's drilled in, the pile is set in place. So there's very minimal ground disturbance. And Randy's done some of these, and I've done some of these as well, where that's looked very favorably upon is from an environmental perspective. So a lot of the things we've learned from other trails and other paths, having gone through both with conservation commissions and Mass DOT Environmental, we've kind of lessons learned along the way, and which will apply here.
Okay, great. Well, I'm sure there's several residents here who would like to ask questions about safety, ask questions about access, public, the ability of the public and privacy along their property lines. But before I open that, Tom, do you have any specific questions?
Yeah, I do have a few
Yeah,
questions.
yeah.
Thank you for clearing up some of the concerns that I had with the conservation land. But one thing that still bothers me is how do we get an EMS truck down there or a police car to keep that area safe, to police that? God forbid someone should be jogging and emergency services are needed immediately. How do you get to that person?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is HS20 loaded, so we can get a small vehicle down the path.
Does that mean our regular ambulance can drive down that path?
The design of the elevated walkway would be wide enough and strong enough to handle a box truck, so an ambulance type vehicle or a police car. Now, an 18-wheeler is not going to go down there.
Of course.
But an ambulance or a police car could go down there, and that's the intent, that it's designed in such a way that it has a structural stability and structural capability to handle that, because it's almost a mile long. So you need, and the other thing too is Randy's talking about areas where there's be little pull-offs, not only for people to get out of the way to rest, but also for overlooks, to look at some of the scenery that might be out there. So that's all being taken into account.
And I do understand the light sequencing that you'd be putting in when you cross Main Street or Essex Street or any other busy street. As I use that walking path over in Peabody. But one area that I'm very concerned about is this passes by a lot of residents' homes that have some very real security concerns. We've read about issues in other towns where there have been some horrific issues that have occurred on walking paths. And I'm concerned from a policing standpoint how we're going to protect people, how we're going to protect people's homes. The fencing and shrubs, etc., may stop a visual attack, but that doesn't stop someone from jumping the fence and invading someone's home.
So some of that I'm going to leave to Janet at some point because she's done a lot of research on this. And let's face it, if you go into Google and you say crime on rail trails, you'll get 1 million responses of crime on rail trails. You could also say how many people eat strawberry ice cream cones on rail trails, and you'll get 1 million of that. So there's been a lot of study with this. Right here locally in Massachusetts, there are a number of trails that are in place that are hugely successful and actually quite safe. And as part of this process, Janet and her committee, as well as Dot Halpin and the Wakefield Committee, have been talking to the police department. They've been talking to police departments in other towns, like Lexington, for example, and other places about crime and what happens on rail trails. Now, we're engineers. We're not crime people. But I can tell you, just from our experience, that rail trails, before they were a rail trail, there's no access for police to patrol. There's no access for people to even know anybody's out there. As opposed to having a trail that's being used by a lot of people, not doing the wrong thing, doing the right thing. People using the trail on their bikes or their skateboards or walking or whatever it might be, and so there's more people there. So it tends to do. But you know, this is a project for Wakefield and Linfield. This is not our project. You guys have hired us to design the job and to bring information to you.
Well, I think there's some security features that you might need to consider implementing, I think is the point that I'm making. If people are concerned about people walking, say, 400 yards in from Essex Street or from Main Street, there may be some lighting, some motion detectors required, something to maybe cause a regular thief from committing that act. We do want to keep the houses safe. We want to keep the people that might be using this rail trail safe. However, we have to find that happy medium. And of course, we can find all the pros and cons in the world. However, until it hits your backyard, it's not all just pros and cons. When it hits your backyard, then it's very real. When you got to look out your window from your living room, your kitchen, or from by your pool, or from where you would normally sit out back and just look at trees, and now you see people going by, you hear people talking early in the morning, late at night, it affects your privacy. And those are all concerns that I've heard from people. The rail trail isn't passing my house, but I think if it was, I'd be very upset. And from what I'm hearing, the people that abut it, a fair majority of them aren't upset. So how can we help them?
And that's certainly part of what we'll be talking about at the meeting. And the screening can be a double-edged sword. One of the things that we're going to pay very close attention to, and Rich sort of alluded to this as it related to intersections and that sight lines. And so it sounds like a great idea to do a lot of planting, but in many instances, shrub massings could be something that you wouldn't necessarily want to introduce a lot of. So you'd be having these areas of hiding zones. So one of the things that we're going to carefully consider when it comes to screening and looking at landscaping is to try to open up as many sight lines or try to provide as much as we can in the way of sight lines so that those areas where we're not trying to screen because there's somebody's abutting house is to make sure that sight lines are well opened up so that intersecting streets you can see far down the trail and as many places as possible where the curves or the lack of curves allows. And then some of the other things that we'll be talking to the public safety folks about as the design proceeds is blue lights. I'm sure you've seen those. They're call boxes that can be placed out there that have both the ability to have a quick way to get in touch with the emergency services, but they could also have a surveillance on them as well. So, to what level, we're just the designers. We'll be bringing as much information to the table as it relates to those kinds of things, being able to solve the problems, so that at the end of the day, at least each town can feel as though we've tried to assist them with developing this program in a way that's as safe as it possibly can be.
No, with all these new structures that we're talking, before we had the metal train cars, which you'd like to think would last another 100 years easily, and maybe just replace some floorboards. Now we're going to have pilings, composite wood. What's the life expectancy on this? What are the maintenance costs? what's going to be our annual cost to maintain all this? All these pretty flowers and having rubbish receptacles, etc. That's all going to be more work for our DPW to maintain. So, do you have any idea what all this might cost?
As an actual cost at this time, no, because we haven't got a firm design on the ground. But when it comes to the lifespan of the infrastructure improvements that we'd be talking about, whether it's the asphalt surface, let's say it's an asphalt surface for the path throughout the vast majority of the length of the path, or that raised structure that we're talking about, that's anywhere from a 15 to 20-year time frame that would be looked at as far as before you'd have to do anything. Now, certainly there'd be maintenance that you'd have to do for, you know, a board on the decking that may have come loose or something like that, and that certainly would be something we'd consider as far as what those kinds of lifespan maintenance costs are for the different features. But again, this is like the approach to designing a roadway that Mass Highway does. They don't like to have something that they have that is needing a lot of maintenance at the end of the day. So we'll be looking at maintenance as one of the design aspects or features that we have to take into consideration when it comes time to put a final design together.
And one other thing, it'd be no different than any other community asset that you have. So if you have a baseball fields, or, I mean, this should be considered a community asset. Just, I know at one point, Linfield was looking at developing a park over off of, over by where the chemical company is. Yeah, Boston. And so this would be, I would believe, would be viewed, and as is in most communities, viewed as just another community asset, whether it's a park or a playground or whatever it might be. But as Randy said, Mass DOT, if they're spending state and federal money on it, they want it to last. So it's got to be at least a 15 to 20-year lifespan.
So as we understand, after the project is built and the state and federal money is used up, there's no funding on the state or federal level to maintain it in the future. It all goes back to the town.
Right. They're building it for you, but then you own it.
Right. Okay.
Now, what about, are you going to be dealing with any of the flooding issues that's happening along from Perry Ave down to 128 in that area?
Yes, it's 2 feet underwater right now.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, this is, our charge under this contract in building this trail is to not make that situation any worse. As far as a flood control project or a mitigation project, that's beyond the scope of this project. But our goal, and that's why I talked about the rail car alternative, raising the level by even 1 inch is unacceptable. So our goal is to not make that situation any worse, but this isn't by any means a flood control or mitigation project.
So there's going to be no consideration for help assisting resolving that situation?
It's a consideration, but again, it's not, Mass DOT is not funding a project to make or improve that situation. It's not a stormwater
At the
project.
beginning of this whole project, I thought someone was saying there was going to be a big culvert installed so that this would alleviate that water flow situation. Now, that's a little different than we're talking
There's the Beaver Brook
about now.
culvert that is in disrepair. But quite frankly, one of the alternatives considered for that would be to take at least one rail car and span that with a rail car. But that's the only major culvert on the project, is the Beaver Brook crossing.
All right. Well, I'd like to open it up to the residents. What I'd like to do is I have, the town administrator has a portable mic with him, and he'll come to you, and we'll leave the gentleman up here at the podium. So if you have a question for them, and try to keep it on topic. And Jim is over there at the door, so.
Just one thing to consider so the meeting that we're having on the 12th, we'll be able to answer a lot more of the questions that I'm sure folks have tonight.
Sure.
So it's not that we're gonna be evading questions, we just don't have all of the tools that we're gonna be bringing on the 12th.
That's sure, and maybe you could explain which ones you might want to answer on the next meeting, but if we can answer most of these tonight, that'd be helpful.
Sure.
Yep. Mr. Tamaro.
Good evening, everybody. I'd like to thank the engineers for being here and giving us the information and the presentation. It's very informative. I learned a few things. I have a couple of questions. I'm glad you guys are still up there. How many miles is this trail overall proposed?
4.4.
4.4. And how many miles are in Linfield?
A little over 2.5.
2.5. So, and that leaves what for Wakefield exactly? 1.8 for Wakefield. And we're also going through
1.82 in Wakefield and 2.53 in Linfield.
and we're going through one of the most protected areas in the entire state of Massachusetts in the Linfield portion, correct? the cattails, the reedy meadow, right? That's part of the
It's a
project.
resource area, yes.
All right. I have a prepared statement, but you guys have asked some great questions. We appreciate that because we do have concerns as a community. And I do have something written prepared, but again, some of the questions were answered. I think our main point and our main concern, and I do want to read part of the statement, but I don't want to lose what we had talked about. Being that this project is so large in Linfield, and so relatively small and vastly different than Wakefield in terms of the demographics of the area surrounding this thing, with Wakefield Concrete, Fahey Tire, the airplane plant, and all the other places it goes by, that it doesn't touch Reedy Meadow and all the wonderful neighborhoods in Linfield, and go by my son's former preschool, and cross Summer Street, and then cross Essex Street, and then end up wherever it's going to connect to in the rest of the world. We see this, as a threat, as an invasion. Like I said, I have a prepared comment, but I think we have concerns as to why this isn't in Linfield's hands. That's our first question, and I think we would like that answered tonight. What does this intermunicipal agreement is not complete? Who is developing this agreement? Who's working on it? Why is Linfield not being proposed as a lead on it?
Who can answer how this was developed at the beginning?
I mean, I think,
Dick,
I
you
think
could-
Mr.
Dick, you-
Crawford, I'm sorry,
mean,
Mr. Chairman, I believe that the residents are looking at the Selectmen Committee this evening to get
Well,
some
this board
information.
had nothing to do with the beginning of this. I think Dick Simmons might have a good answer for that because he was involved at the beginning.
Okay?
Okay, so I think it'd be
I'm the
good.
past chair of the committee.
Yeah.
And I was involved when we first started, well, not when we first started the process, but when we were into the process a while. The Wakefield was further along in the process and had been involved with considering the rail trail for longer than we had been, and so they took the lead as the lead community. It wasn't necessarily an abdication of power as much as it was they were a little bit more experienced than we were. They were a little bit more involved. Their committee was better developed, and so they became the lead community at the time.
Gentlemen, again, I have a question for the Board of Selectmen. When has the town ever acquiesced power on a project where we obtain majority, okay, in terms of simple numbers, length in this case, okay? When have we ever acquiesced power to any other surrounding community? Has this ever occurred before?
Mis-
Did anybody answer?
Mr. Chair, I
I'm
might-
not asking engineers at this point, I'm speaking to town council, town representation.
Dan, I understand you're asking that, and we don't have an answer for that.
Okay.
All right, all right, but I'd like to keep it on topic tonight.
That's fine. I think
I
we
understand,
are.
I understand you'd like to have us under control, and I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't know the history of where the control started. That's why I gave that to Mr. Simmons. But,
I'm sorry, Phil, I really don't know who Mr. Simmons is.
the gentleman just spoke.
I understand,
Yeah,
but
yeah. He was the head of this project for the town, on behalf of the town from the beginning.
Okay.
So that's why he,
Resident of the town.
yes, yeah,
And past assessor to the town.
right. So he has a better history of the project than we do. This board is all,
He's a
yeah.
proponent of this project.
Yes, and he's
He's
part,
been in
he,
control on behalf of the town's interest.
no,
No.
he was part of the original committee that was in
Committee.
front,
Mr. Chairman?
the original committee.
So where's the town?
I might be able to help with this just a little
Sure,
bit.
go ahead.
The town of Linfield has not given up any authority over the trail in Linfield. Period. Answer. That's the answer. Linfield you're in control of your portion of the project, which is why we're here tonight and why we're going to be having a community meeting in Linfield. Wakefield has control over their portion of the project. The reason that Wakefield is the lead agency is because somebody had to enter into the agreement with Mass DOT to get the money for the preliminary design. So all Wakefield is doing as being the lead agency is they pay our bill. Linfield doesn't. They're administering the money that was given to both communities by Mass DOT. That's the only part of this where there's, I guess, if you want to call it a shift in power, there's really no power. Linfield has complete control over their segment of the project.
Excuse me, at this point, it sounds like a foregone conclusion that there's procurement in place. You guys are talking procurement for different options, okay? So,
No, there isn't.
excuse me, you had 3 slides up there discussing specifically procurement of rail cars. and contractors bidding on that. Did you not?
No, that, we were doing a feasibility study and determined that if contractors had to bid on those cars, it would be difficult for them to get, which is why that option was put aside.
Then, gentlemen, I'd just like to end by reading part of the statement that I had prepared. Because my name is Dan Tamaro, and I have been given the honor of speaking on behalf of a large group of concerned tax-paying citizens of Lynnfield. Our members include a broad spectrum of residents. Some of us have lived here our whole lives, others are new to town, some of us live next to the proposed trail, while others, many others, are miles away. The one thing we have in common is that we love our community. We appreciate the streets and sidewalks in Lynnfield are safe and quiet and beautiful. We know that Lynnfield residents of all ages have plenty of safe and convenient options, both locally and in nearby communities, to walk, run, and bike. We formed this group because this project seems to be gaining momentum with very little support from within our community itself. It seems clear to us how and why the residents of Wakefield support this, as have some others. In comparison, their portion of the trail abuts many commercial and industrial areas. Lynnfield's proposed portion will intersect some of our busiest streets, behind our schools, middle, pre, and high, in between, run adjacent to the largest protected cattail meadow in the entire state of Mass, and otherwise be mainly behind many of our neighbors' homes. We ask you, the Board of Selectmen, to consider the following 6 questions, some of which I have already asked, I'm not going to repeat. How does our little community benefit by creating and funding a travel corridor for non-residents' use? We're not funding, but we are creating. Where is the benefit for the town? Who will pay for the maintenance costs associated with this trail? I believe we learned that one. I'm sorry for repeating it. Again, why is Lynnfield not the lead town on this agreement? And knowing that this trail, again, this question was repeated, safety behind our schools. And one other thing that was not addressed is these cattails, I know from personal experience, are highly flammable at different times of year. When that thing is only accessible by a boardwalk, where else are you going to put out that fire that grows? How? Our final and most important question is, will the voting public in Lynnfield be allowed to vote on this project that will in fact require a 2/3 majority vote to pass? Okay? We are not demanding answers to all these questions today. We are simply imploring the selectmen to recognize that we are a vibrant group of your constituents who are intently concerned with this project. And we ask for your consideration and assistance in the future to make sure that this project is supported by the community before moving forward in any capacity. While many are hesitant about our message being worded too harshly, I personally believe that these proceedings are improper, invasive, and unduly unjust to almost all of the abutters and beyond within our community. We hope you all plan on attending the community meeting on January 12th to assist you in making your assessment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tamaro. I appreciate all the words and the concerns. Believe it or not, we've learned about as much about this as you have. There hasn't been any other information coming out than what's already been given out to everybody that's in the room and what we know as far as the progress of the project. I've had many residents bring me their concerns. I have large files Mrs. Giuliano has been nice enough to bring to me, and I've gone through all that in detail, and there's many valid concerns that we all have, and safety obviously is number one on all our lists, and privacy for everybody involved. These are all valid concerns, valid questions, and we all have the same concerns and questions up here. So even though we're still at the preliminary stages of this project, these gentlemen are here and been hired to do a job, which they're doing, all right? They're gonna bring as much of this information, all right, forward to us as they get it from you. So these other community meetings, you'll be able to discuss it with them, bring your ideas, and bring your concerns to them, which will get, and we will be there. I honestly, I will be there. I'm assuming my fellow selectmen will be when they can. I guarantee you, there's nothing foregone here at all. We have the ability, the town has the ability to decide whether or not this happens in Linfield. Okay, this board's not gonna decide anything. You're gonna decide on, oh, it's gonna go to a vote. This would do nothing but go to a vote.
At town meeting.
At town meeting,
Yeah.
at town meeting. Maybe my town administrator would confirm that? Would this be a 2/3 vote at town meeting?
Talked to Tom Mullen a couple times on this. If there's no funding involved, it could be a majority, but I don't have a complete legal opinion from it. If there's funding involved, it is definitely a 2/3 majority.
You talk about town funding or accepting the
Town's
federal funding? How about accepting the federal funding?
No.
No, okay. All right.
Does the federal funding pay for the lease?
The lease, as far as I know, the 99-year lease has no cost to it.
All right, okay.
The maintenance cost is town funded, so.
The maintenance costs would be town funded. We would have to include that as part of our budget. And again, it's part of the design that we would have to determine what the funding would be after that, because we don't know how many bushes we have, how many trees we gotta cut back, and what sort of roadway we have to take care of. Mrs. Giuliano, we have a microphone? Actually, Mr. Vince, please introduce yourself and, yeah.
Vince Inglis, I'm a
Yeah.
Linfield resident, and, at this stage, I'm very much for this project. I've had the opportunity to utilize bike trails in about 4 different states, running through cities, small towns, through environmentally concerned areas, if you will. Every community has had to go through this type of battle. We're not reinventing the wheel by any means. And I think you want to be prepared on the 21st to talk about how the majority has overcome the minority in the value added for what this project can bring. One of the key things that I haven't heard at all is the safety of our children. I view the streets and byways in Linfield as extremely dangerous to ride a bike. So the potential to save a life or save a potential serious injury, I put very, very high on the scale. So I'd be interested on the 21st to hear more about some of the communities in Massachusetts, how they dealt with that issue, what they did to overcome the concerns, the real concerns of the neighbors that abut this. Pardon me?
I can't be the only one here. All these people are
On voting night, the majority will dictate. Okay, I'm here. So that's my point, is that I think the safety of the children really is a big, big concern.
Are you talking about on the trail itself or within the community as a whole?
I'm talking about as an alternative, if this isn't built, kids riding on the streets of
Oh,
Linfield.
yeah. Well, certainly off the street is better than on the street. And having a dedicated multi-use path does provide that opportunity to get the kids off the street and on a trail that is not in conflict with motorized vehicles. So.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Giuliano?
I'm Jill Giuliano. I have a couple of questions, please. First of all, as I understand, they printed the grant from the federal government, and it's not a fully 100% funding. And it says on my sheet that Linfield was only appropriated, it may not be appropriated, the whole 70. There's a question about those fundings. Is that correct?
Well, are you talking about the federal funding?
Yes, I do.
The federal funding is part of the State Transportation Improvement Program, the TIP. Everybody knows about the TIP. And it's very competitive. And as projects get closer to advertising and closer to 100% design, that money becomes programmed. Typically, they don't program the money until at least past the design public hearing, because the concern is that a project could die on the vine. Either public opposition, environmental concerns, community doesn't want to do it, whatever it might be. So as the project moves forward, it then gets programmed for federal and state funding.
So in other words, you don't have the secure funds, is what you just said right now.
Sorry?
you do not have the funds secured that you are going to get from the federal government.
No project has the funds
And
secure.
in addition to,
Right.
what is the percentage that you will be getting from the federal government?
It's 80-20,
Okay, who's going to pay the 20%?
the state.
The state. Okay, and what about the maintenance and all of that? It is up on
The
the
main-
the
and again,
taxpayers,
yeah,
correct?
and just like anything else.
The monitoring and the patrolling and all that. I have one other question, please. We don't have any information. As I understand, you have said on your screen that 2004, this project is started or met in Wakefield, correct?
That
Or
was
something.
before our time.
Right.
I'm
very
just
well.
going by information we
My
had.
question is to you is, how come they all have all kinds of, the abandonment certificate, they have all kinds of paperwork, we have nothing?
Who is that?
Well, the committee, the Don Halpin, all the.
So I'd be happy to answer your questions, but that's not
Well,
us.
what I'm saying is.
If you have a design question, I'll answer
That's
that.
fine, fine, maybe this is for the selectmen, is that, could you gentlemen please, can we have all the information and all the copies of all the certificates they have, so that we can be on the same page as they are? Because it seems to me, and I apologize if I am wrong, is that they have all the information, they make all the decisions, they hire the engineers. We're really not informed. I like to be informed. The only thing I do want to do is inform our citizens so that they can make an eloquent decisions. Therefore, an informed citizen will be an informed voter. I have another question, please, and then you can answer me, Janet. Richard Simmons, and you don't mind if I speak to you, Richard, all due respect to you, I think you are a nice man.
I've been to your house
But
before.
okay, and we've been in many committees, and I respect you as a person, but this has got nothing to do with you as a person. What it is that I'd like to ask you, you told me the last time that you don't live in Linfield, you live in Swampscott. In addition to, you retired from the assessor's office. Why are you still on this committee?
Committee, the past town administrator asked me to stay on the committee because I had the historic knowledge of the committee and asked me to be active.
Shouldn't be allowing you, shouldn't we vote? Do we have a say to that, gentlemen?
No,
Don't we?
well, the selectmen do.
Well, okay, do we have a say to that? That I understand, I have all kinds of respect for you, Richard, and that is not, I'm questioning, shouldn't we have a say?
Yeah, as a town employee, I think we do.
Thank you for listening, and I appreciate it.
For that?
Thank you. No, sir, no, we got. Hold on, Janet, could you go up to the podium and just address Mrs. Giuliano's concerns?
Yeah, there was the question Jill asked about the two towns and information. What I do know, and again, Dick is our great historian on this, so I would hate to lose him because, as you can tell, we are sort of thin in our history of this. But both towns have the same attorney, Tom Mullen, and I'm confident that he is protecting Linfield's interests as well as he's protecting Wakefield. I don't believe he has a favorite town, but if someone feels you're not being represented, well, then that's another issue, not for us. He should have all the information you need.
Janet, the question was, does the town of Wakefield have information that we do not have? Or is there anything that they may have that you're maybe aware of that we haven't had privy of at this point?
I don't know. I don't, and again, Tom Mullen would know if there's some information that would be important to our town that they have. I think he'd be the best source for asking for that information, for whatever you need to represent both towns. As you remember, the idea was the contract. You can only have one town do a contract, so it was Wakefield, so they will have all kinds of information on the contract with World Tech and things like that. So I think they'd be a terrific source.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Giuliano, I will ask town council tomorrow if there's some paperwork that we have not seen at this point, and ask if we can get a copy of it. That'd be great? Okay. Well, get the microphone, please.
May I, please?
Sure.
I just want to answer Mr. Inglaze. I'll do respect you as well. I know you for many years. This is not, Chris, Phil, Tom, this is not about Wakefield. It's not about Lexington. It's not about any other town. It's about our town, Linfield. I lived here for 38 years, Phil, Chris. I've known you since you were 3 years old. You think that I want to do this? We don't think it's good for Linfield, gentlemen. We think we don't want, we should have a right to decide what's good for Linfield. We feel as though Wakefield, all these towns, I have relatives all over the place. I have friends all over. I love these towns. But it's not about them or anybody personally. It's about the fact that we came to Linfield for a reason. People moved to Linfield because of the quaint town, because of the no congestion, because of low crime, because there's never been a crime on the trail, on the railroad. We don't want to change that. Please understand our feelings and concerns. And it's going behind our backyard. That's a lot of us. And there's 60 or more homes that's going to invade our privacy 24 hours a day. So please realize our concerns and feelings. I hope you understand, and I appreciate you listening to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Giuliano. Believe me, the town of Wakefield's not going to make any decision for the town of Linfield. We make our own decision here. And the decision here will be by the citizens, okay? These board's not going to make a decision. This board's not going to make a decision. It'll be by the citizens. Any other questions? Yes, in the back? Just introduce yourself first, please.
I'm Laura Kelly. I'm not in Nevada. I'm on Midland Road.
Mhm.
A lot of my friends are Nevadas. And I know there's pros and cons to all of this. What we have to realize, we cannot compare ourselves with other towns and cities. We are a small community. We're already facing traffic issues with Market Street. We have to put on more police and fire. What do you think is going to happen if this bike path goes through? I would just like to make an environmental point. I'm a little nervous, so. There's one thing environmentally that we should be concerned about, and it's an issue that's going to happen in Linfield. Because when we remove the railroad ties, it is a fact that the creosote leaches into the ground. The trains have asbestos linings for their diesel engines. So the constant use of the rail bed through the years has caused questionable asbestos into the ground. Now, once we disturb this ground, it becomes airborne. So what's going to happen? It becomes a cancer causing. Do we want to take this chance in Linfield, in our community, to expose ourselves to this health effect that would have a great impact on our community? So that's one point, environmental, that our taxpayers of Linfield should be aware of, because we have children that are going to grow into this town, and we don't want to have to face being another Woburn. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else like to speak on this subject?
Phil, I'd just like to speak to the points regarding Linfield taking the lead. I can certainly assure you, I think my fellow selectmen would certainly agree, and Phil, you said as much. Linfield absolutely will have the final say. I think at town meeting, most certainly. I think we've seen the residents show up, voice their concerns. I think there's a number of good questions that have been asked, and I think we have to make sure they're answered. I think there's one question I haven't said, I don't know if you included that, is but the access points to the rail trail. I think you have the access point at Summer Street, I think on Pillins Pond Road. I think there's a number of properties that might have conservation land connected to a roadway, to the railroad, or to the railway that they might not know about, that's access points for the public. I think these are all very important decisions to make, because certainly with our recreational fields, as we have expanded them, the need for parking certainly has expanded upon Essex Street. And if we were to add the railway and certainly the rail trail there, it's certainly another congested area for the town of Linfield. So these questions will be answered, and I can assure you that I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that Linfield will have the lead and take the lead and have the final say for Linfield. So thank you.
One last point. Chris, thank you very much. Just on a personal basis, you mentioned the 62 Bostitch, right? On a Sunday morning, about 11 o'clock, I was driving by with my family and pulling out of it, and I witnessed a car accident. I don't know how many car accidents we have in small, on our back roads in Linfield, but the fact that I drove by that, maybe 2.5 months ago, just something as little as that, and something way bigger that's potential, I think, is what's out there. I just want to end and say that we also have a Facebook page and a website. It is www.notforlinfield.com. I'm not a super fan of the name, because I believe we are all for Linfield. We just believe this rail to trail is not for Linfield.com.
Thank you, Mr. Tamaro, and believe me, thank you everyone for coming and being concerned with us. I hope you all come to the informational meetings that they have and attend their regional meetings they're going to have in the neighborhoods. When is that going to start? Well, that's gonna be the first meeting that you're gonna have, but how about you're gonna do neighborhood meetings after that, you were indicating?
Individual basis.
Individual basis after that, and you're gonna have different coordinators for the different neighborhoods, put them together?
That's probably something we'll talk
Is that the idea you're trying to put
So
in?
you'll have one Linfield, one Wakefield, and then neighborhood meetings
Yeah.
included with those.
Yeah, just hold on a second. Have them bring a mic around. Yeah. Jim, you get the mic? Bring up this gentleman in front here.
Bob Breslow, 56 Parsons Ave. Just curious, the timing of the whole thing, and when the vote might be, come to vote. I think that's a big day for a lot of us. And I saw the schedule of the project, but at what point in time does the vote?
Yeah, well, we're curious about that same piece, on what pieces of this project do we have to actually vote on and bring in front of the neighborhoods and bring in front of the town at a town meeting. We're also curious about that. We haven't seen a schedule for that. Janet, do you have any more on that yet?
No.
We don't know.
We'll
Okay.
know as each step moves along, we'll have a better sense of the timing, because as been indicated, when we get into Mass DOT, they are going to be shaking this down really carefully, and they're not fast people.
So is this town meeting, you think, will be a little too quick?
Oh, this won't be this town meeting.
All right, so we're
Yeah,
still
definitely
looking.
not this town meeting, yeah.
Okay, so it's gonna go on for a while.
Yeah.
And as far as the funding mechanism, isn't that several years down the road? I mean, realistically?
Yeah, if you think about this as a multi-year, multi-step
Right.
process, and
Yeah.
each step of the way, people get to have input and shape the project or stop the project. So there's opportunities for people to interact with this all along the way, and this is one of our first opportunities to come in and share the word with.
Yeah, because we're still at the beginning of the project. It's, we're years away from an approval of the project in any way, shape, or
Why
form.
they spending all this money?
So I-
Why don't they go for vote first?
Sal, why don't you have bring
That
that?
was pretty much my comment to it. Just curious, the timing of it and how much is going to go on before the vote actually takes place.
Right,
You
right.
know, because that's certainly a significant amount of work that's being done now. The engineering that this gentleman referred to did clear the tracks of a lot of growth. It had
Right.
been, 15 years since the tracks were used.
Yeah, the feasibility and the engineering studies were funded by the government, and it has nothing to do with the town funds or anything like that. They are able to look at it and engineer.
I'm part of that other government too.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's all still preliminary work. I mean, we're a long ways away from final design and even presenting it to the government.
Yeah.
Right, that's what all these meetings are for, and that's why we should all get as educated as much as we can on the whole project and what it means, and we certainly want to hear everyone's concerns. Like I said, we've been talking about it for a couple of years already. We know many of your concerns. Others will pop up. We have our own concerns, many of them, same as you. And we talked about some of them tonight, but these will all come up in the following meetings. These larger meetings and the smaller group meetings in the neighborhoods are very helpful, because a lot of people are more apt to come forward and speak up in a smaller setting, and they can have the questions heard and answered in those smaller settings. We've used those in the past in different platforms for the town, and they do work well. So I would encourage people that would like to have their neighborhood look at these and talk to the engineers and the rail trail committee. Put these neighborhood coffees or meetings, whatever you want to call them, together, so you can all look at this in smaller groups. Yes, Rich.
Obviously the project was an idea several years ago, much before we were involved with it. But I will say, having been involved with projects like this, like anything else, you have to do a certain amount of due diligence, and that's really what's going on right now, is the due diligence.
Right.
As opposed to making decisions on opinion and that sort of thing. You have to at least get all the facts so you can make an informed decision. So that's really what's going on right now.
Right.
There are no bulldozers ready to show up. There's no equipment being delivered. It's really the due diligence stage, this
Sure.
preliminary design phase.
Sure. Dan?
Sorry, I don't mean to keep dominating, but we keep discussing and we keep learning. And, it sounds like what you're saying makes sense, Phil. We should go to these community meetings, but we don't even like the idea of going to a community meeting on a project that we want not to happen, right? So how do you go and listen and sit and want to hear from engineers when they're trying to tell you how great it is and you're not behind it.
Well, you have to express that to them and tell them, and they're gonna know how many,
So
yeah.
procedurally, in the past, Mrs. Simmons, I understand, was the lead for the town, both towns maybe, whatever the situation was, because he was appointed by the town manager. How do we get ourselves, as town management, today, more informed on this subject and not have to ask a private citizen at this point and someone who doesn't live in Linfield on top of it?
Well, this has been the next level of information that
I
we've all
understand,
gotten,
I understand.
but there hasn't been
So
any other new
our
information in
answer-
between.
Our answer leaving here seems to be, well, if you need information, turn to the committee who's presenting this project forward. And we're sitting here saying, wait a minute, you're telling us to go to the proponents to gather information on this project, when there's no one leading this thing from the town perspective at this point besides a private resident.
Well, we've been asked questions along the way. I know Mrs. Giuliano has asked me questions. I've gotten her answers over the past. We can do the same process through the town hall. You can ask the town administrator, you can ask us. But again, we will get that information for you. It works the same process,
I
works
believe
going
it's
through us.
important for the municipality to have a lead person on a project of this magnitude that's affecting so many citizens and not to leave it up to, I don't know who.
Well,
engineers.
believe me, your town administrator, Mr. Boudreau, is in charge of these. He's the man in charge of all of it.
Okay.
So if you want to go to our town administrator's office and ask those questions, those answers will be given to you as soon as they can be answered.
Mr. Boudreau.
Yeah, okay, that's, yeah. We have hired him to be in charge of the town, and he does a great job, and those questions can be directed directly to him.
Yeah, I'd like to say
And-
Jim's answered a lot of my questions.
Right.
He's been trying to be helpful. The information that, I asked Janet a couple of simple questions, and before I could hit send on my email, I think she had already forwarded it to Jim.
Yeah.
So I went to meet with Jim to see if I had a couple of, my questions were, what's the understanding of the committee's original taking of the land for the railroad from the residents at that time, if they knew that, they answered that question. And then there's a change of public use form that needs to be filled out with the federal government for the trail to go forward. So Janet didn't have that. I went and met with Jim. Jim didn't have a folder, which I thought was kind of amazing, seeing that the town administrator prior to this was heavily involved with this, and Dick was certainly right across the hall.
Yeah.
That there wasn't even a folder in town hall. We started one. I gave him a piece of paper and he made a copy of it and he put it in the folder. But
So now we have a folder.
so now we have a folder.
Okay.
I think you're right here, getting all the information from, the Freedom of Information Act isn't something any of us want to slam on anybody. But, I think you're going to Wakefield and getting copies of all that material, I think would be helpful, just to keep us going.
Yeah.
We need to be fed a little.
Yeah, I'll contact our town council in the morning, and I'll get whatever's available at this point.
Well, you know what, I have a few comments I want to make. The first is town council. I don't see how he could be independent if he's going to represent Linfield and Wakefield with this issue. Wakefield wants to go forward with the project. From what I'm hearing, my own personal opinion, I wouldn't want this in my backyard either. It's from what I'm hearing right now is we're not for it. How could we have the same legal representation? It's impossible.
He's not an advocate for the project,
No,
Tom.
no,
He's
no.
just
But
giving
how,
us
how can
advice.
you negotiate on Linfield's behalf if he's also working for Wakefield? Isn't that a conflict of interest?
No, there's nothing to negotiate at this point. All Tom's gonna
Well,
do,
we have an
What-
agreement that we have to negotiate who the lead agency is gonna be. And it sounds like.
well, that's already done.
more
I don't know who
peop-
did that, but what's the next thing that Tom will have to do, when and if we ever get to that point, would be to review the lease agreement with the MBTA. It's a 99-year lease agreement for the use of the rail trail.
Mhm.
That's just a simple review. And he will make comments on it from a legal standpoint as to what needs to be in there, what needs to be done. And then it'll be up to the town to vote for or against it. But this isn't like a lawsuit where we need him to advocate or defend. This is just simple reviewing of documents at this point.
No, but at the beginning, there were documents that were drafted, correct or incorrect?
Well, it would have been an agreement that would have been signed by the town of Wakefield with the engineering firm and with the state. The state documents, I can tell you, those are forms. Every city and town in the Commonwealth gets the same forms and sign those.
So in those documents, did it represent anything on behalf of Linfield?
No.
So they only spoke on their own behalf?
I don't know, Tom. I mean, that
Right.
was
I know you're late to the
2010.
game, but.
I mean, I've only been here for a year.
Right. I guess, but what my concern is, it's impossible to represent both sides of the fence.
But I guess the only side he's representing is Linfield, from our point of view. He can tell, I guess he's not saying this is a good project or a bad project. He's saying these are the legal steps that need to be taken. These are the things that have to be done in a contract. He doesn't have a side, I guess.
Well, in that contract, if we have some strong opposition, wouldn't we want different wording so that if we wanted to stop the project, we could,
Now, the stopping the project will be the town meeting vote.
right?
That's the stopping the project. There will be a lease agreement with the T
Mm-hmm.
to lease the rail bed for 99 years.
Okay.
Council's job will be to make sure that that lease is legal and protective of any of the town's rights.
Mm-hmm.
The yes or no on the project will be a town meeting vote, whether or not to execute that lease. The town has to vote on that. That has to go to town meeting.
Right.
So
but
he
no-
doesn't have a position for or against it. He just said, this is the form of the lease that you would vote on. If it passes, fine. If it doesn't change what Tom's doing.
Jim, what part of this process does that lease agreement come up? Maybe Janet or Dick might know.
We're still a ways away from that because you don't want to do the lease agreement until you're almost ready to go forward with the project. Because if it passes, then now it's the town. The town has responsibility for that trail. So we will wait.
Before the project can be advertised for construction, the lease agreement has to be in place. So you're
Right,
a long
but
way
well,
away.
we will wait. That'll be Phil. Before we do that lease, the design will be done. We'll be on the tip. So and the tip can take anywhere from a couple years to. I mean, I can tell you there's an intersection in Norwell, the intersection of Route 53 and 228. Over 20,000 cars a day, one direction go through that. From the time we started that project to the time we started construction, it only took us 19 years. Okay, so.
Jim, can I ask you a question on the lease?
Yeah.
So it's a 99-year lease
99-year lease, that's correct.
at a cost of $1.
No cost.
There's no
My understanding
cost
is
at
no
all.
cost, that's right.
And he thinks it'd be a majority vote, not 2/3.
I've had several conversations with them, and I gotta nail them down to get an actual written opinion on
So I
that.
know he at one point had said 2/3.
Yeah, that's why I've gotten various answers on that, so I'm gonna get a written opinion from them as to what it's gonna take.
Is there a piece where the town is going to vote prior to committing to the project on any piece of it ahead of that? Where's
That
where's the
vote
early?
on the lease is the town's vote to commit to
So
the
that would be the
project or not.
first thing we need to vote on as a town, as far as you know?
That is the vote. That is about the
Yeah.
only vote the town will take.
So the lease is for the, okay,
Correct.
lease vote. And we're still a year or two away from even considering that?
I would say at least,
Yeah, okay,
at least.
okay.
Because we're not even at the 25% design, which then needs to be submitted to the state. And as I
Yeah.
said, that goes to Mass DOT, DOE, the whole alphabet soup of state agencies. Where it is Reedy Meadow, it's gonna take a lot longer for the environmental agencies to work their way through that. There'll be a lot of comments back and forth with the engineers. And that's just 25%, then you have a public hearing, they get it on the tip, and so we're still a ways away on that.
Okay, great. Any more questions?
None of those funds will come from Linfield, right?
Correct.
It's all federal or state?
Correct.
Because it seems that Mr. Tomorrow makes a really good point, and that is, why go forward if we find that there's a majority vote that's against us? Why should everybody waste their time?
Well,
The quality of my life's already been changed, having to deal with this, by the way.
Oh, I understand.
What are you saying, Bob?
I've talked to many people here, I agree. Where's our microphone?
I'm a little upset with Bob saying his quality of life has changed because he had to deal with me.
Yeah.
I had a conversation with Bob about this. Part of it is, Tom, there's a lot of people in this town that don't have any information at all about this. And this is more for you than it is for me. But I know if I was going to a town meeting, I'd say, how am I supposed to vote on this without any information? I don't know what it's going to cost. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know what any of that information. How am I going to vote on it?
But there may be a greater principle at hand here, and that
That's-
is, people just don't want the invasion of privacy,
I understand that's
which
more of
goes
a policy
beyond
decision
any
than it is.
financial data we could provide. And at the end, there will be a cost to the taxpayer to boot.
Yeah. at some
So
point.
no matter how we cut this pie, there's gonna be a forever cost to every taxpayer in Linfield.
But at this point, we
Even
can't.
over and above the 60-odd abutters that will lose their privacy, which was probably one of the main reasons that they moved to Linfield.
Those are perfectly valid. That's not my decision to make.
And that backs into why I think we need separate counsel to protect the residents of this town. If there's a point that we could circumvent this long drawn out process and bring this to a vote sooner. Maybe that's something that we should consider.
That'll be a decision for the board to make. That's a policy matter. Okay. Town council will tell you from a legal standpoint, you don't want to be out in front on having that lease because then you own the property basically.
Mhm.
So you want to do that as late as possible. From a legal standpoint, that is the correct thing to do. From a policy standpoint, if the board would wish to take that up sooner to, in effect, either kill the project or get a sense that the town wants to go forward, that's a policy matter, that's not a legal matter.
I mean, I think we should get to this sooner than later. There's no sense in tormenting everybody's life.
Janine, out back? Out back.
We have enough people here to decide what we want to do. I don't want these people to come in my backyard.
Hey, Jill, can you get him under control, please? Thank you. Yeah.
Janine Saldana. I can't talk, I'm laughing so much. My question is about Peabody. My understanding is this goes up to the border of Linfield, Arpot, and Peabody. Is Peabody considering this? Do they want a trail, or is it just going to stop there, a rail trail?
Hi there. Indeed, the trail does continue up to the border of Peabody. And for those of you who have been on the Peabody Trail, ours would go in a northerly direction. They currently have one that cuts across east to west. And it's a very popular trail. The residents really love it. The city wanted it so badly that they built it themselves. They didn't go for state or federal funds. And it's not clear whether they would come towards us. That would take additional monies from them. We can't speak for them, but it's certainly an opportunity someday, because if they do, it will allow people to go further on the trail north. And most towns are looking for opportunities to connect.
And does that not include crossing Route 1?
Yes.
It does include?
Route 1 would be a very tricky cross, so we're talking about a huge amount of money for the town. Yeah. So we're talking about a huge amount of money for Peabody, and I can't speak for them whether they would think that was a great idea. They are, because they already have a great trail. Yeah, Dick.
I have met with Peabody when I was a member of the community and working for the town. The planner for the city of Peabody was excited about the project and felt that they would carry it forward if it got up to that border. Just so I want to be as transparent as possible. Okay, just so you know.
Dan?
Again, I appreciate the question. West Peabody's not Linfield. So, Peabody, I can understand them wanting a rail trail, right? We can understand that. That makes sense. Going back to what we were just discussing with Mr. Boudreau, I think that the town has some impropriety that might have occurred in the past, and I'm just, again, I'm not an attorney. It just doesn't seem regular to me that no town official has a handle on how this began, where it stands, what paperwork has been filed, who's in charge of it. I think you guys are, opening up some potential legal issues from the way I see it, because I don't believe that one town vote is an all-in or all-out chance to stop this thing. That does not seem proper as a citizen to me, that this thing has built that much headway, that even if we're 2 years away and it won't be built for 25, it's still too soon for me. So, it just seems like there's a lot of ambiguity in the initial stages of this process. No one really has a handle on it except for the proponents that are pushing this thing, design, completion, procurement, estimate, right to a vote stage. That's their agenda. Their agenda is to sit through meetings, listen to everybody, listen to the people that are for, listen to the people that are against, take their for group and push it forward because they're for it. And where are we left? At a town level, where's our management? Is it for it? It seems like our management is for it. That's how I feel. I think many of our residents feel like that way.
Well, the may not become behind my backyard, I don't like that.
Oh, we know that, Sal.
I am not in a butter. I'm not in a butter in any way. So I live miles away from the path.
Yeah, no, you're right, Dan. There's There's been very little information to anybody about this because it's still at the beginning stages.
But it's not beginning anymore.
Oh, well, it still is. It still is.
More than preliminary, they're 25, talking about 75% design, that's not preliminary.
But that's-
Preliminary is 10%, and it's an idea in the sky, that's preliminary.
Right.
When you have 75% design completion drawings and you're discussing alternatives for construction, you are way ahead of preliminary.
So when will we be at 75% design?
A long time from now.
Yeah, that's a long ways away.
We're not even close to set to 25.
So we're still at the preliminary stages. You're talking about things that are months and years away. All right, and this initial meeting that's gonna happen soon is the beginning stages of all that.
But it sounds like this got traction without anybody really knowing about it, except for Mr. Simmons, who's for it, sitting on the town council.
No, the traction was the initial funding for the feasibility study, which a lot of projects get.
Original
So,
traction was
yeah.
Don Harris, for Pete's sakes.
Yeah, Don Harrison, and that was,
John Fullerton.
how many years ago was that? That's okay, we can talk about all the different pieces of it at the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
there were two community meetings, I believe a year and a half, maybe even, excuse me. There were two community meetings. There was one in Wakefield, and the following night, there was one in Linfield. And a lot of the folks here, I know Joe was at that meeting. There were several people at the meeting when the project was we were first talking about the project. We made a presentation on what the process was going to be like, and again, just some ideas, because if you don't come with ideas, the problem with ideas, if you come with too many, you're jamming it down somebody's throat. If you don't come with any, you came unprepared.
Mm-hmm.
So we had some ideas just to talk about stuff, but there were two community meetings back then. And it was well attended, both in Wakefield and in Linfield, and that's really when the process kind of started. I want to say it was 2 years ago, maybe 2 years ago this April. It will be 2 years ago this April.
High school.
It was at the high
It was
school.
at the high school
Yeah.
media center, and I was there, and we all attended, and Mrs. Giuliano was there with me, and we all talked about it afterwards. There hasn't been a lot on the public side since then. I think that's what people are saying. There really hasn't been much between 2 years ago and now, because you've been doing your.
There was a lot of investigative work, so we
Right.
had to do topographic survey of the entire trail. So 4 miles of trail, someone out there with a survey creating base plans, so we kind of know where we are in space. There was a geotechnical program to see what the soils were like. There's been some environmental preliminary work identifying where wetland resource areas are. So really hasn't, there's been a lot going on, but it hasn't been substantive in terms of this is what things are going to look like, or this is what we're thinking about. It's really the fact-finding stages of the physical trail, or the railroad bed, and that sort of thing. So that's why. And so now here we are having some base information where we can now start talking about ideas and that sort of thing. So
I got it. We got a mic?
If people don't want it, we have no rights. We have no rights. If the people, when we had the meeting, we told them we didn't want it. And
Sal,
that's
I got to get you on a microphone, because I want everybody at home to hear you, okay?
The last meeting we had, we told them we didn't want it. We are the abutters. My backyard, I have a pool where the people go by my pool. What I got offer with beer when they go by? Come over and sit down, lunch down with me. We didn't like it. We told them we didn't want it. So they still went forward like we weren't even there.
That's the point.
What kind of power we have as a citizen?
That's the
If we pay taxes, would you like behind your backyard, but your backyard, this backyard is behind my backyard.
I understand.
Most of the people here live there too. It's not just me.
I agree. Thank you, Sal.
Hi, I'm Debbie LaConte. A good friend of ours just passed away this week, and he lived on the Topsfield Trail. And we had a car show of all antique cars in his barn, and he has a vast property, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 acres of land. Well, the rail trail went right beside his house. He hated it. He put up bushes, and people would urinate on the bushes, and the bushes would die, and now there's huge. It's in Topsfield, right where it crosses, I believe it's Summer Ave or Summer Street. They have huge cement Jersey barriers, but they're not even as pretty as the Jersey barriers on the highway. There's these big, huge cement blocks that they put up And I know it's Topsfield. I know Linfield would probably do a better job. But my point is, these people hopped over them, and they came into our private car show off of the trail, and some of them were like thinking the hot dogs and the hamburgers were for their benefit. I am not kidding. They completely invaded our Strokers Hot Rod Club private summer party. And I mean, this is the type of thing Mr. Giuliano says, what am I going to do, offer him a beer? No, they may come and take it if you turn your back. It's just what, I'm saying. Thank you.
I understand.
I just want to ask a question to Janet Long. Janet, when you spoke about the Peabody Trail, that's just a spur. What is on Pine Street that crosses Route 1? Isn't that what's connecting to Peabody, the main line? Now, you know Pine Street, I'm sure you're aware of it. You say you walked the trail. You're such an expert on the trail. Now, you go Pine Street, there's a trail, it's a bend. There's no bike path, or there's no walking trail. But it goes by Pine Street. If you go down to Winona, the Four Corners, you cross over, that's your Pine Street. You go to Route 1, it crosses Route 1, where Bewitchers, the fish store is. That is the main line, my dear. It's connecting to the main eastern seaboard. You did not say that to these people, that it's connecting. Why are we going to Peabody if we're not connecting? Let's not go then to Peabody. Let's stop in Wakefield. Wouldn't it be nice, don't you think? Thank you.
Go ahead, go get to the mic.
I'm sorry, Jill, you misunderstood. Earlier I did say that it does connect. What will happen? Yeah, so remember I said that for Linfield, we butt up to the Peabody border. They have a trail that goes this way. There is a spur that comes down, and we were just talking, Bob Breslow and I were just saying that if they build that out, and you had said, Dick had said that they had expressed some interest in coming our way. If they do come our way, that will allow people to move from Wakefield all the way, potentially in the future, and this will happen someday, up to Topsfield and further. Towns are connecting these trails whenever they see those opportunities, so we're finding those connections keep happening from town to town. So those are things we want you to be aware of. Yes?
I have 5 grandchildren, and I want to defend them. I don't want to bring strangers from Peabody, from Wakefield, from my backyard. You understand that? They're going to be connecting what you say. There's going to be more strangers out my way.
Okay, so Vince, out back.
Yeah, just in closing, do we have this site on the town website, a link to it?
Do we have a link, Bob?
To what exactly?
To the website for the rail trail?
No, you don't.
We do
All right,
not.
so that's got to be put on there
Let's get
right
that
away.
onto the website if we can.
Yeah. Hold on,
No,
I
your
have the floor
website.
here. Hold on. You spoke.
Oh, he's a for it. Well, why don't we have we can put both websites
Did
on
you
there.
speak earlier, sir?
Go ahead, Vince.
Okay. So let's get it on the website, number one. Also, on that website, list the towns in Massachusetts that have a rail to trail. Okay, that's a start as far as getting the word out as to what's happening, the pros and cons of both sides.
Thanks, Vince. Well, the town of Linfield has to decide whether the town of Linfield wants to be part of that list. And we want to decide whether or not we want to be connected to Wakefield and Peabody. That's what the decision's going to have to be.
Nobody has the information.
Right, so as we learn more about it, I impress on everybody to show up at the next meeting to discuss this in more detail. Where, we have an agenda tonight to get through, but the next meeting will be just about this. And you guys can talk about it with everyone here all night long, and bring your concerns, if they can talk about it in detail some more. I'm sure there'll be a larger group then with some more questions. So if we could bring that to the meeting again on the
January 12th, 7 to 9 p.m., middle school.
January 12th, 7 to 9 p.m. at the middle school. Okay, so as everybody could be there, thank you.
One more thing.
One more, go ahead, Jeannie.
If we are going to list the towns in Massachusetts that have it, we should also list those that turned it down. I understand Weston and Lynn, for example.
I agree. We should have both websites on there.
I don't think it's a town business to publicize the issue. I don't think it was their issue to push it forward in the first place.
Okay. You're trying to let as many people know about it as
I just don't
possible.
believe that the township, the fact that the town brought this forward in the first place, and it wasn't, through some committee, there was not any vote, there was done some back rooms and some meetings, is improper. It's invasive and it's improper. Because who was involved? All these people that about it knew nothing about it, and it's a foregone conclusion that someday it's gonna be connected to Peabody, Canada,
It's
or
absolutely not a foregone conclusion, and I would say, I'm
I just
neither
heard,
for it or
I
against
just
it.
heard Mrs. Warren say someday. it will
Okay,
be.
boys, guys, you guys can talk about this later. We want to finish up, all right? So if we could end this topic for now, have everybody get to the next meeting. I appreciate everyone for coming, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gentlemen, thanks for coming. Yeah, thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You too. Folks, if you could take the conversations outside, we have to continue the meeting. Folks, if you could help out, thank you. Danny, could you bring that out? Thank you. Thanks, Joe. We'll just wait for our town administrator to get back up here in the seat to work on the next agenda item. How we doing, Mary? Thank you, folks. The next item on our agenda is going to be the emergency and disaster planning for election polling places. I'd like to have our town administrator, when he comes back in, he can go over that with us. So we'll just hold on a second, we'll get to that.
Let me go get him.
Yeah, if you go. Let me grab it. Vince, thank you. Thanks, buddy, you too. Merry Christmas, guys.
Here he is.
Oh, we lost him.
Welcome back, Jim. You didn't get in any trouble out there with the residents. Jim, the next item is the emergency and disaster planning for election polling places. If you'd like to give us a brief overview.
Just in a nutshell, this is a new state requirement. As the board knows, every year they vote where the polls are, where the election is. We have to have a plan if something happens that we cannot use that, or that we have to somehow evacuate or stop the polling.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have a plan that we've adopted to do that. This is what Trudy has come up with. Because the board adopts the polling places, the board has to adopt the plan.
Is this something that other towns have adopted?
Yes.
We copying someone here?
I'm sure she copied. This is similar to what we did in Norwell.
Okay.
I know we had to do that before we left. Again, it's a new requirement, Tom, that you have to have procedures in place that if for some reason you have to shut down a polling place. How do you secure the ballots? What do you do? All that stuff.
Parts of this seem like it's more concerned with about the ballots than the life of the person controlling the ballots. I hope there's enough common sense there to get out if something's a little more urgent, and that the ballots are not the most important thing in the world. But I understand what she's trying to do here. She obviously wants to control and secure the ballots, and then obviously take care of the officers that are working the polls.
Yeah.
So I agree, it's a good policy to have in place, and it gives them some direction on what happens if there is an emergency. It doesn't necessarily have to be life-threatening, just, if they have to
It
close.
specifies that if the polls are going to be closed for more than 60 minutes, they go to the alternate location.
Right.
So.
I agree. Well, reading over, I don't have any problems with it. Any other questions from the board members? No?
Usually when they're securing voter votes or voting cards, that someone would sign their name on a piece of tape where it's being sealed. I didn't see anything like that. Is locking the voting box, is that the equivalent?
not following you, Tom.
Okay, we're
Are you speaking
unplugging
to the-
on page 2. We unplugged the voting machines, so that we're securing the votes. Usually, when you secure votes, there would be a piece of tape would be placed across something that could be opened. The clerk or the registrar, whoever would sign it, and then you know that it's secure, that no one has tampered with the equipment or with the files. Are these
the
voting machines locked? I guess
The
would be
machines
my-
come with them, if you look at it.
They're gonna roll the machines out.
Wouldn't you take the machines with them when they evacuate the polls?
Okay.
Sorry, my mic turned on.
So they're taking those with them when they leave. There's too many on.
Okay.
I'll take a motion to accept the emergency and disaster planning for election polling places.
So moved.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
There is one thing that I'd like to have us consider for the future, is some sort of a protocol for absentee voting. In looking at this emergency plan, I also saw on other town websites that they had a protocol for absentee voting. And maybe at some point we could talk to Trudy about looking into that and maybe implementing some sort of a written protocol.
Absentee balloting is determined by state statute. It's not on a case-by-case basis, so if these towns
No,
have
no, a
protocols.
protocol as to how they're taken, how they're stored, whether we should have the signatures notarized, et cetera, et cetera. In the state, all that we need is, you need a valid reason not to be present for the vote.
Right, but how the ballots are taken, how they're stored, that's all by state law. Whether you wanted to have some sort of notarization requirement.
I saw that in a whole lot of other states, that when you have an absentee vote, that requires a notarized signature.
I'm not sure, I'd have to check down, I'm not sure that'd be legal in Massachusetts.
Okay. I have no idea. I was just, you start surfing, one thing leads to another.
Yeah, they're trying to make it actually easier for people to vote, so now, actually, we're starting the, what's the term I'm looking for? Thank you, the early voting, which will let
Right.
people vote before the election, which is almost like an expanded absentee, but I don't think you can require notarization on an absentee ballot in Massachusetts. We can check, but I don't think it's legal.
Okay.
Okay, all set? Next item was the Recreation Commission vacancy. I'd like to table this for our next meeting. I have been contacted by the rec board, and they say they are gonna be bringing forward one other person for us to consider. So I'd like to table this for our next meeting. If we could do that, Bob, put that on the agenda for the next meeting, I'd appreciate it. Thank you. A couple updates. Kinder Morgan, as we know, as we've talked in the past, the Kinder Morgan pipeline application did go into FERC on November 20th. There was a review period before the town could apply as an intervener. That review period has passed. We can now go ahead as well as the Water Commission, and I believe that's already been done as an intervener. Jim, can you tell me where we are in our piece of that, please?
Two things at once. When they get us notice of violence, Bob actually posted the town's resolution opposed to the pipeline. I have actually finished the intervener paperwork, if you want to call it that. It's just a different statement. I hope to have it done before the weekend. I finished it up today. I just want to spell check it and read it over so I can have it out to you guys tomorrow. We still have a couple weeks, but I'd like to get it done before Christmas. So
Sure, I would too.
I was hoping maybe to get a little work on it tonight, but I don't think that's going to happen.
No, yeah.
But there's a different piece of paperwork that we need to file to actually intervene, and we got a copy of that at the last pipeline meeting. So I'm copying that and just kind of crafting it for Linfield.
Okay, great.
I had a few things I want to add onto that, talking about Kinder Morgan.
Sure.
I was at the last Northeast Municipal Gas Pipeline Coalition meeting. There's a couple of interesting issues that they brought up. The first is, well, we all know that the Attorney General of Massachusetts, her study has come out, and she feels that the pipeline is unwarranted. Kinder Morgan has it proved that there is a need for the additional gas supply. Also, just a few quick tidbits. Over 700 abutters of the current route of the pipeline have not been notified. That's rather questionable. The current pipeline proposal is not the final pipeline proposal. The route of the pipeline is not final, and that's all going to be changing yet again. Local conservation committees will be receiving requests to review the pipelines as they go through town to town. Something I'd like for us to consider in Linfield regarding this Linfield lateral, is there any way that we could avoid this pipeline from going through any of the town residents' homes? Could we bring it down one of the streets, then cut it through town property to get it into the town wetlands, conservation land, well area, so that we don't have to disturb anybody's houses? I think that we should try to take a look at that. We have, quite a few people that are pretty up in arms over that, and it'd be nice if we could try to help them with some sort of a solution with that. And then lastly, two final issues. Number one, the coalition against the pipeline is growing by the day. People are uniting from town to town, and now they're starting to unite state to state, which is good for the people against the pipeline. And lastly, I was informed at the last pipeline meeting that there's a company in Peabody that regularly blasts, and the pipeline that's currently proposed is going very close to that business. And it appears that Kinder Morgan has not addressed that issue. So at some point, we'll have to all watch carefully to see how that issue will be addressed. So that's just a few issues that came up at that last NMGPC meeting.
Great. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
Maureen.
Tom, what do you mean by the company regularly blasts?
Whatever kind of construction work that they do on their property, they blast.
It's a quarry?
It's the quarry.
Quarry, yeah, that makes sense.
Family used on, I believe. Formerly Essex bituminous, I don't know what the name is.
Yeah, it's a quarry.
Right.
That's what it was.
So when they blast, that pipeline has to be certain structure, a certain distance, so on and so forth, and it's within that distance. So that certainly needs to be addressed, especially a pipeline of this magnitude. No, this is in Peabody. Right.
I'll remember the new name by tomorrow morning.
Thanks, Bob. Camp Curtis Guild cell tower update. I contacted, or I left a message for the DCAM. They didn't come back with any updates on that at this point. And so I'll put that on the next agenda if we get something updated on there. Union Hospital. We got some items on Union Hospital to talk about. The initial hearings are starting. The first one's going to be at the Lynn Memorial Auditorium on January 7th at 4 o'clock. And this has to do with the change at both North Shore Medical Center and Union Hospital and the discontinuance of providing inpatient and medical surgical services at Union Hospital. This will be the first large, full-scale public hearing since they filed with the state. It'll give a chance for residents from Lynn, Saugus, and particularly Linfield to go and be heard if you'd like to speak up about it or listen to what they have to say. I met with the Chief Executive Officer of North Shore Medical recently, Bob Norton, and one of his associates, and we talked about this very subject. He met with Jim Boudreau and I, and we went over what they had in mind. We reviewed the filing that he put in. The construction at Salem Hospital has a timeline of 3.5 years. They plan on leaving Lynn Union Hospital open for that 3.5 year time frame. We did discuss what's already been coming out of Lynn Union. They did admit that several of the major services that they provide have already been moved over to Salem Hospital, but they're still in compliance with their license with what they do still have at Lynn Union. They are going to experience staff and nursing, doctors and nursing both starting to look for other jobs and moving themselves. I still have strong concerns about their ability to stay open for those 3.5 years. The more that this information comes out, people will start using the other hospitals. Their quality staff that they have now may start leaving. We know many nurses have left, several doctors have left. The entire third floor is left. So it might be on a faster track than what they would like. They also have a mental health facility they're going to put at the old Spalding site. Again, that's going to take a couple of years to build, and they may be using some of the Lynn Union to accommodate some of those facilities in the meantime. Again, I did ask the CEO whether or not they planned on using that hospital for anything else, like a mental health facility in the future. He indicated they do not. They do not know what the plans are for that facility. Now, my main concern, particularly for Linfield, is emergency medical services. If they're not going to keep a full service hospital there, which apparently that there's very little hope that that might stay as it is, unless another hospital comes in and buys it or something. I don't know if that's a possibility. But the emergency medical services, they do acknowledge and did agree, do need some attention, and they were willing to talk about and have considered leaving the emergency medical services at the Lynn Union site. I would certainly encourage them to do that. We talked in length about it, and one of their models for moving forward was to leave that emergency service open. Even as it is today, it doesn't provide all the services that we need. People with serious heart issues still go to Spalding, to Salem or to Mass General. But most of our emergency services still go to Lynn Union. We're going to, I encourage them to settle this and come up with a resolution long before the closure of Lynn Union. So they agreed, and we're gonna go to these meetings that are coming up, and then have future discussions with both their board and the Department of Health at the state level, because the Department of Health is the one that typically has, and the only one that has the real any real leverage to keep something open over there, and I'm going to keep that dialogue going. In the meantime, they have that meeting on the 7th. I encourage people to go at the Lynn Memorial Auditorium. The second meeting after that is the determination of need application that they put in for what's going on in the construction at the Salem site. Now, most of that construction has to do with the closing of Lynn Union and adding on to the Salem Hospital. I believe it was somewhere in the $350 million range is what the addition they're putting on is going to cost, and a 3.5 year time frame. But there will be a hearing at the Hawthorne Hotel in Salem at the ballroom on January 12th. It's a Tuesday at 4 o'clock. And again, I encourage people to go to that meeting, listen to what they have to say, and get as much information on this as we can, because this is all tied in with the medical care that the people from the town of Linfield get. And it's very important, that we start focusing on this and getting concerned as a community on how our medical needs are going to be met in the future. And Partners Healthcare still has not given us any kind of definitive answer how we're going to have any kind of medical care in the same fashion that we're getting today. And that's where I'm heading with this, and I'm sure most people are concerned about it. Mary Stewart's here tonight. She's very concerned about it, and she's been spearheading the Save Union Hospital group for the Linfield end of it. And I just want to encourage as many people to get involved as they can, because this has started to happen now. It's going to become, it's going to be fast-tracked, and it's going to move very quickly. And believe me, even if it goes for 3 years, those 3 years will go by fast. and you'll be getting a medical ride over to Salem or some other hospital that's another half hour away when you have an emergency need that could have been met in a 5-minute ride. So that's what I have to say. Mary, would you like to speak on this?
I think additionally,
Up to the mic, please, and make sure it's on.
you know, if you can't go in person, you can.
Is your mic on? Is the button on the bottom?
Okay.
There you go.
Additionally, if you can't go in person, you can write to the Department of Public Health. And I can leave some of these, maybe Town Hall, the library. It's also been publicized in the newspapers. The timing of the announcements by partners was a time when most people are so busy shopping for holiday season that they miss all these things. So anyway, I do encourage people, if they can't attend, to please write and tell them why you need a hospital near your town. Also, I'd like people to look on a website for the Healthcare Policy Commission and see what is actually happening to healthcare in this state. There is more people having surgery outpatient than inpatient today. And consequently, they feel there's no more need for large hospitals or any hospitals. I don't know where people are supposed to go. People don't heal instantly. So please look at that website and see what is happening to healthcare. It's a little bit frightening. I think we have a need here. We're sitting at Market Street with all these people here. There's a segue talking about ballots and the elections and safety issues there. Even if we do have a bike trail eventually, we're talking about accidents. Everyday life happens, and people don't realize how much they need a community hospital until they or someone in their family gets sick. It happened to my family twice during the Christmas season, so maybe that's why I'm here. So thank you, the board, for supporting this issue.
Mary, thank you for
I
your work.
appreciate it
Really, thank
greatly.
you. Thank you, Mary. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is the renewal of the annual licenses. Jim, you want to go over what we're looking at here?
Several pages of licenses. These are all the car licenses, bar licenses, restaurant licenses, package store license that the town does. They expire on an annual basis. Probably the easiest way to do them would be to do them by category. So all alcohol club license, and just read the establishments in each category.
Okay, sure.
And vote in each category, and then these are all contingent
payment of all fees
upon
and
payment of all
taxes.
fees, taxes, and everything else.
Okay, and does any of the members on these lists have any issues with us at this point?
I think there's a couple people we're still waiting for to bring their checks in,
Yeah,
but I don't think we have anybody that owes taxes at this point.
so there's no one here, we should delay at this point?
No, if we had
No.
to delay them, they'd be off. There's some people
Okay.
gotta bring in their checks, and if they're not bringing their checks, then we don't turn on the paperwork.
Okay, well, the first category is the all alcohol license, club license, the Wakefield Elks Home Association, DBA Wakefield Lodge of Elks. Take a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Common vic license, all alcohol for 427 Walnut Street LLC, DBA Davio's Northern Italian Steakhouse, Bally High Incorporated, Broadway Lights LLC, DBA The Fat Cactus, Legal Seafoods LLC, DBA Legal Sea Bar, 99 Restaurants of Boston LLC, The Ship LLC, DBA The Ship, Yard House USA Inc., DBA The Yard House, King's Bowl of Linfield, DBA King's, Rebels Restaurants Inc., DBA Temescal Tequila Cantina, Fugaku Linfield Restaurant Corp., DBA Fugaku, SMJ Linfield LLC, DBA Gaslight, Wahlburgers LLC, Linfield LLC, DBA Wahlburgers, California Pizza Kitchen. I'll have take a motion to approve those.
I will, but one comment first. I did reach out to Chief Breen regarding the issue we had with Yard House back a few months ago, and he's told me that all police details are being filled and there's no situations up there with the patrons at all. So it looks like the Yard House has been working very well with the town. to make that a better situation, a winning situation
Great.
for everybody. So I wanted to thank the chief and the Yard House for making that effort. And with that, I'll make the motion to approve the common victual licenses.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Restaurants, Wine and Malt, Wagamama Boston One LLC, DBA Wagamama, Muse Paint Bar, pending the ABC approval. For those two, I take a motion.
So moved.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Retail package stores, we have KJA Incorporated, DBA Donovan's, RS and AL Inc., DBA Kernwood Liquors, and T&L Liquors, DBA The Wine Cellar. Take a motion for those three.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Retail package stores, Wine and Malt, United Business Group, DBA Old Town Market, Verk Enterprises Inc., DBA Linfield Golf, and Whole Foods Market Inc. For those three?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Automatic amusement device, Valley High Inc., Broadway Lights LLC, I'm sure, DBA Fat Cactus, and Wakefield Elks Home Association, DBA Wakefield Lodge of Elks. I'll take those three.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And the straight common vic licenses for the Valley High, the Quality Food Services, DBA Center Court Pizza Grill, Christine's Cafe and Confections, Pebbles Food Inc., DBA Countryside Deli and Catering, Linfield LLC, DBA Dunkin' Donuts, Broadway Lights LLC, DBA Fat Cactus, Davio's Northern Steakhouse, Legal Seafoods LLC, Louis Pizza and Roast Beef, Linfield House of Pizza, Linfield Meat and Deli, Yaru, DBA Ming's Chinese Restaurant, 99 Restaurants of Boston LLC, United Business Group Inc., DBA Old Town Market, Sagamore Spring Golf Club Incorporated, La Ship LLC, CTS Donuts LLC, DBA Dunkin' Donuts, Whole Foods, Yard House, King's, Wagamama, Fogaccio, Termascal, Gaslight, Wakefield Elks, Wahlburgers, California Pizza Kitchen, JP Licks, Auto Pizza, Grove Boutique, Panera Bread, Stella Restaurant Group, DBA Boloco, Chestnut Street LLC, DBA Grove Boutique, Starbucks, and Muse Paint Bar. Have a motion to approve all
How
those.
about the next two?
Oh, I'm sorry. And it continues. Sweet Greens and Fresh Food Cafe. Have a motion to approve those common vic licenses, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Do we have to go back to automatic amusement? We missed Kings, the air hockey table,
Was that?
under Wakefield Elks. Did you get the update?
I've got the.
Am I looking at the wrong one?
No, I'm not using, did you miss Kings? I thought you guys had talked.
No, we stopped at Wakefield Elks.
We just do it to make sure.
Show me where that is. Oh, in Kings?
Yeah.
So automatic amusement device, Valley High Inc., Broadway Lights LLC, DBA Fat Cactus, Wakefield Elks, Homeowners Association, DBA Wakefield Lodge of Elks, and Kings.
So moved. Make a motion to approve the license.
All right, second.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Lodging houses, Megan Murphy and James Warsakis, DBA Lords of Linfield.
Make a motion to approve the lodging houses licenses.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Fortune telling, Tatum Marino Jace.
Make a motion to approve the fortune telling license.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You think they knew they were getting that license renewed tonight?
They already knew. Yeah, they knew. Weekday entertainment license. Valley High, Fat Cactus, Davio's Northern Steakhouse, Legal Seafoods, Wakefield Lodge of Elks, Yard House, King's, Ship, 99's, Wagamama, Fogaccio, Temescal, Gaslight, Wahlburgers, Muse Paint Bar, and California Pizza Kitchen.
Make a motion to approve the weekday entertainment licenses.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sunday entertainment license, Valley High Inc., Broadway Lights LLC, DBA Fat Cactus, Legal Seafoods, Wakefield Lodge of Elks, Yard House, and Kings. Is there more?
Yeah, only, many of them did not renew because they don't have live entertainment on Sundays, which is a state requirement. We can't hit them up for TV or jukeboxes. So we're down to two.
On the next one, okay.
Sunday entertainment.
On the Sunday.
Okay, so
Sunday
weekday entertainment, we have a motion to approve those.
Yes, right, we did that.
We did that, we're all set? Sunday entertainment license, Broadway Lights LLC, DBA Fat Cactus, and the Ship.
Make a motion to approve the Sunday entertainment licenses.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Class 1 auto licenses, Silver Star Inc., DBA Flagship Motors, Silver Star Inc., DBA Smart Center, Linfield, Kelly Jeep Chrysler Inc., Kelly Nissan of Linfield Inc., Herb Chambers.
Make a motion to approve the Class 1 auto licenses.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Class 2 wholesale secondhand motor vehicle licenses, Dealers Trust Corporation, HGC Automotive Inc., Richard M. Lamusta, DBA Blue Knight Auto Sales, Taylor Model Cars, TMC LLC, and Michael DiCorrado.
Make a motion to approve the Class 2 wholesale secondhand motor vehicle licenses.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. Talking about the secondhand motor vehicle licenses, is everything going good with that fellow that we had an issue with off of Main Street?
You want to check it?
That was HGC Automotive.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about, yeah.
So he,
And any complaints?
No complaints? Okay, he's good, good. Great, so those are all set? And the last items we have are the approval of our minutes from November 4th and November 30th.
November 4th, I had one question, which I spoke with Bob earlier, so I have no additional questions.
I had a couple typos, Bob, but I'll go over those with you next. They're simple.
So I'm making a motion to approve the November 4th, 2015 Board of Selectmen minutes.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then we also have the November 30th minutes.
Okay, I went over an issue on page 3 with Bob. Page 3, paragraph 3, regarding the recap data is being certified by the state as supplied by Linfield, not supplied by the state. I went back and listened to that. So I talked with Bob, and I forget, Bob, did you agree with me or disagree?
Right, we'll describe it as supplied by Linfield and certified by the state.
Right.
Okay, so right here in the middle of the paragraph, it says
Right.
state, that should say Linfield.
Right.
Okay, got it.
And outside of that, I had no other questions.
Excellent. You all set with that?
So I'll make
Chris?
Chris?
Yes.
You good? Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the November 30th, 2015 Board of Selectmen minutes.
I second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. We just have to sign the warrants, and
Trudy asked that you read the announcement about the.
nomination papers? Okay. There's an announcement from our town clerk. The town clerk is pleased to announce nomination papers for 2016 annual town election will be available Monday, January 4th. Open seats will be Board of Selectmen, 1 seat for a 3-year term. Board of Assessors, 1 seat for a 3-year term. Board of Library Trustees, 2 seats each for a 3-year term. Town Moderator, 1 seat for a 1-year term. Planning Board, 1 seat for a 5-year term. And 1 seat to fill an unexpired term for 1 year. And 2 seats each for a 3-year term for the school committee. The last date to obtain and submit nomination papers for the town election is set for Tuesday, February 22nd. Papers must be returned no later than 5 p.m. on February 22nd. In order to get your name on the ballot, nomination papers must be certified with at least 50 signatures of Linfield registered voters. If you are interested in running for the office for 2016 and have questions regarding the nomination or election papers in process, please call the clerk's office at 781-334-9400. Thank you, Trudy.
I'd like to make just one quick announcement. I want to thank my fellow Board of Selectmen for supporting me and acknowledging the Linfield Youth Football C team for winning the Super Bowl. I've been involved with Linfield Youth Football for almost 20 years. This is only the second time we won the Super Bowl. So I want to congratulate all the players and the coaches on that team. and I believe we'll be issuing them a letter of commendation for striving and achieving such a great goal. And I don't know if you can see this, but this is the ring that Linfield Youth Football provided to all of the players and the coaches,
That's awesome.
which I thought was very thoughtful.
Great. Thanks for bringing that, Tom.
That's nice.
We get to keep it?
You get to use it.
My high,
If you
my high
want
school
to.
ring wasn't that good.
Yeah. The Linfield Pioneers, my year, were 0-10. We never got a ring like that.
Thank you.
Well, congrats to the Linfield C team. It's a great accomplishment.
Thanks,
It
Tom,
really
for
is.
acknowledging
They
that.
should be proud of it. And, you know, we're getting towards the end of the year, and it's the last chance we'll have to say anything before the new year. So I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and a happy and healthy 2016.
Thank you.
Great.
Okay. Like a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and Merry Christmas.
There we go.